Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky podcast. Me and Aaron are here. We've already had a great conversation. We should have recorded it, but we didn't. It was politics, so we won't go there. You know,
All good words. All
oh
good.
yeah, all good words. We didn't get political. Well, you know, we're not like that. We don't roll like that. Brother, how are you, man? Welcome back to Let's Get Freaky. It's
Man,
so good to see you.
it's good to see you too. Like I said before, man, it's been way too long, honestly. I mean, every time that I get the chance to talk to you, our discussions go in all different directions, which I love. But,
Yes.
that's the beauty of the world, man. Everything's a mystery.
100%, man. Yeah. That's what I've found. So like making connections with like you and you know, that's what's so cool about doing this show, man. Like we're
Oh,
brothers
yeah.
for life now. That is
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
For sure, man. Like I said, look, I already told you, you're invited to the wedding and
I
everything.
know. I can't and I cannot wait. Next October,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
go. Let's go.
For
We got
sure.
yes, man. That's an honor. Thank you very much. That is
Of course.
amazing.
Look, I even told my wife, I said, like, Tommy's coming. I don't care. Like,
Best man.
look, who knows? Who knows?
That's no pressure, man. So last time I spoke, because I didn't know you was getting married, you dropped it on the show, live on the show, you told me.
For sure.
And I was
Yep.
like, whoa, bro. It's not been that long, and it's not been
Oh
that long
yeah.
since we last spoke, really. He's got the ring
Oh
on
yeah.
now. What
Yep.
else what else has happened, man?
Man.
What's
So
happened since then?
well, I've been off work for the past 3 months because I got hurt. So,
Oh man.
but
No.
it's nothing too bad, and they're paying me, so that's the important thing.
That is good.
So,
That's
but
good.
yeah, things are going good. I'm actually looking to start doing CDL truck driving and whatnot here soon,
Hmm.
just because it's going to pay 10 times better. I already got some job offers for places like basically telling me like once you get your CDL, you can make upwards of 150,000 starting out.
Ooh,
Yeah, whenever I heard that, I'm like,
let's go.
I'm going there.
I'm coming with you, man.
Hey, look, sign up, get in.
Let's go.
So, but yeah,
Wow.
that's going on, and you know, my kiddo just turned 2, so that's nice, and
Congratulations,
you
man.
know, and
Awesome.
things are going good. Like I said, before, right now, my wife and I were trying to get the process going to get our first home. I know I sent you the listing
Yes.
for it, and it's a beautiful house.
Oh man, I'm moving in, man.
Hey,
That's the
look,
problem. When I come over, you might not be able to get rid of me.
hey, look. Like I said, there's enough room for you. I mean, what? It's like 6 or 7 bedrooms in there. It's the house. The house listing says 5, but you could easily make seven. Seven.
Bro, studio. We could have our own
Oh
studio.
yeah. Oh, easy.
We can do this every night.
Well, think about this. There's two kitchens in the house. There's two kitchens in the house. There's one upstairs, one downstairs. There's
Oh
two
wow.
fireplaces. There's three great rooms. There's a garage that's has 2 stories on it with a fully furnished upstairs. Right. It
Woo!
Yeah, and all for 100,000.
Oh, man, tell me it's in a Bigfoot area. Tell me.
I wish. I wish. That that's gonna be where the end goal house is, because the end goal
Oh,
house is gonna be up in Maine. That's where I'm gonna be building up there.
bro, that's where I'm going. I'm definitely coming with you. That's where I
Look,
want to be. I want a cabin in the woods in New England
look.
somewhere.
Hey, I'm
That's
telling you,
the goal.
no shit. I'm telling you right now. If I get a big enough patch of land, you can come up there, and we'll work out
Bro,
the details and all that. Because one of the patches of land I'm looking at, it's 165 acres of land, and it's $110,000.
bro.
But up there, people don't realize how cheap it is up there. But it's because all
Mhm.
it is timber.
Yeah,
So,
we can build, man. We can
oh
build.
yeah. Well, think about this too: is that if you cut, let's say you cut 10 acres of trees down,
Hmm.
you depending on what trees you cut, you might be sitting on $5,000 to $6,000 of the trees just in that in
Yeah.
lumber, because the
Oh
lumber
man,
tree is amazing up there.
bro, I'm coming. That
Do it.
is, you've sold it to me, brother. That's it.
Look,
That is
come
where I
on.
want to be. That is honestly the area I want to move to. I
Look,
want to. New England is the goal.
that's been the goal for me for probably the past 6 to 7 years, is to move to Maine, get it, like build a cabin up there, and then get property. Like, because right now I'm hoping to be able to get some money from an incident that's going to be coming up here soon. And if I do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take about $5,000 out of that and put it straight towards property up in Maine, like immediately off the rip. And but now get this, think about this, right? So taxes on that place, right, are $2,200 a year,
Mm-hmm.
which is
22.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's my parents have a half-acre plot with a house on it, and they pay $4,000 a
Mm-hmm.
year taxes. And up there for 100 acres, I'm going to be paying 2,000. Now, granted, that's before you build. That's before you build. But even then, still, the fact you're paying $2,000 on,
Yeah.
100,000 or 100 acres, right?
Oh man, you got me
But
excited, brother.
and I have been looking at places that have Bigfoot activity too.
Yes.
So
Yes. Oh man, we'll set up a studio. We'll
look,
hunt for Bigfoot during the day.
we're doing it. We're doing it.
Podcast at night. Bigfoot day. Podcast night.
We're doing it.
Yes, bro.
We're doing
Oh,
it.
show over. I'm done.
It's set in stone.
The last time I spoke to you so obviously you was working in the forest, in the forest industry. That
Yep.
was the job that you was doing, and you did tell me a wild story where you nearly got caught in a fire. What was it? A fire?
Oh yeah, controlled burn. Yeah.
Yeah, a controlled burn. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was the last time we spoke. That had just happened, and that was wild.
Yeah, that was a crazy day. I remember coming home and just, being like, well, yep, that happened. Yeah.
So there was fire coming from both
All,
directions.
yeah, from all sides. Yeah.
Oh, bro.
Well, like I told you then, after you have so much shit happen like that, you get used to it.
Hmm.
Like, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to sound braggadocious about that because there's nothing braggadocious about that shit. Like, I don't wish half the shit that's happened to me on anybody, but like that legit, after a while, something like that happens to me. It's like, well, made it through another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So,
wild. That's wild, man.
but and
So you've got an injury? I don't know if you
yeah,
have to tell
so
us what happened, man.
yeah, so I'm not even in that field anymore. Right now, I'm doing it's utility locating.
Hmm.
And I got hurt because I was stepping up on to a railroad tie to get behind to like where these so what we have to do is we have to connect in the phone boxes and cable boxes and stuff like that and be able to detect where the underground utilities are and put paint marks down the flags and shit, right?
Hmm.
And we're sitting there and we're doing that. And as I'm doing this, I open up this phone box and there's a wasp nest in there, right? So I'm like, oh shit. And they're all active as hell. So I'm like, okay, well, time to go get the wasp spray. So I go get the wasp spray and I start nuking the shit out of them in there, right? So well, they didn't like that too much. So they hauled ass out after me.
Oh,
And whenever they did that, it rained that morning. Well, on these old railroad ties, they have that it's like that tar like slickness to them because after a while it starts seeping back out, right? Because that's they use to treat wood.
hmm.
And whenever that happens, it just makes them slicker than snot. So next thing you know, I slip off of that. My foot does, the loop the loop and pull and all over the place. So I ended up getting fasciitis, tendonitis, as well as a severely rolled ankle all at the same time.
Oh man.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
yeah. Not.
pain.
Don't recommend it.
Oh, are you recovering now? You feeling better now? Or?
I'm just now going to be starting physical therapy after 3 months. So
Oh,
I've basically not been able to do shit really for. I didn't get to go to any damn pumpkin patches. I didn't get to do anything because I couldn't walk, and if I did walk, it hurt like hell.
yeah,
So, whenever I was doing shit, like I couldn't really walk farther than, probably 20, 30 feet. And then after a while, it got to the point where I couldn't even walk really 10 to 20 feet without it hurting. And even now, it's still like I can walk that distance now, but it hurts like hell
yeah,
after. But I'm in the boot and everything. So I'm, new boot goofing around here. Got
yeah,
the medical one on.
yeah.
And it's it's been. I'll say this because I don't like talking about situations like that in a shitty light. It's been good because it's given me the opportunity to be able to, you know, do a lot more things along the lines of like researching for say, and also
Hmm.
learning more because I have more time. I have all day basically. Besides, whenever I go pick my wife and my kid up or drop them off, right?
Hmm.
So it's been good. It's been a good experience in that aspect, and it's also shown me how much I do appreciate the woods because I haven't been in the woods in 3 months.
Oh
With
man,
me
for
being a
you, that's a big thing, very big
hell
thing.
yeah, that's a big thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I yeah, that's been rough. I will say that's been rough as hell, but that's why I'm glad that you know I got my little apartment like balcony over here where I can sit out. But
Hmm.
I finally put a towel over that damn light because I got tired of sitting there seeing a you know LED in my face like I was being pulled over for drinking driving and shit. So I covered that shit up, and now I can actually see the stars out here and everything. So that's nice.
No, nice man. You're a positive dude, very positive dude.
I
Like,
try to be.
and taking the positives from every situation is important, and you've definitely done that, man. So that's cool.
Well, you have to. I mean, think about it, right? Like I could sit there and be like, "Poor me. I sat there and got hurt at work. Poor me. I haven't been able to do anything at all, right? Poor me. I can just sit here at home and do nothing, right?" But it's not what I did. I sat there and I took the opportunity to learn more. I
Hmm.
taught things. I went through a process of continuous, you know, researching on different shit that I didn't know about, right? And it was one of those things where, like I said, and I also looked at it in the sense of this, in regards of being in the woods, which is one of my favorite things to do in the world. I love being out in the woods. I mean, that is like second to sex for me, honestly. Like, I mean, it's great. I love being in the woods.
Yeah.
And to not be able to do it, it really showed me how much I appreciated it and also how much I took it for granted.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, because if I was off for 3 months and I didn't have a fucked up foot, I'd have been in the woods every day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure,
But
man. Yeah.
but like I said though, I'm appreciative of the time that I did have in the woods, and I'm going to be unbelievably appreciative of the time that I will have in the woods once I do get all better.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
man, for
it's
sure.
been good.
My only experience of sort of spending that much time out of the woods and out of things that I love doing was during the vid time, the COVID time.
Oh yeah, oh COVID, the
Well,
COVID.
that first 6 weeks,
Oh yeah,
like where everything was really locked down and you
yeah.
couldn't do anything, and we were sort of close at the time. We were sort of close to forest, but not
But
close
not,
enough to just
no,
go down. And
yeah,
and I hated it, man. That
it's
and
horrible.
that's probably why we moved and changed where we lived and stuff because for that time we were trapped and like
Yeah,
it was not nice.
no. Well, and that's the thing is, it's like being trapped in any way,
Hmm.
regardless of if it's situational, if it's like anything, it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling because
Hmm.
as people and as human beings, we want to be free. I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, that's why that's what makes us us.
Hmm.
Is we have the free will. We have the ability to be able to go and do whatever we want within reason. Obviously, like I can't just go out and you know like blow up a car if I got mad. But
Wow.
but I could.
Depends what
You
you
know,
are.
yeah, yeah. But it's one of those things. It's all we are able to do whatever we want, especially in first world societies. We can do just about anything we absolutely want to with
Hmm.
no restrictions. So whenever you have those moments of life where you are restricted, it really makes you understand like, holy shit, I really been taking granted of this.
100%. Yeah. Just taking those everyday things, even the
Well,
things that used to bug us, like our jobs.
oh yeah. Well, shit.
Even to, yeah.
Well, think about with COVID.
Hmm.
And that's a perfect example. Think about how much that shit really,
Yeah.
you know, because nobody was able to do anything.
That was a wild time, man.
Shit.
That
And
changed me. I know it
well,
changed a lot of people, but
hell
that
yeah.
changed me massively.
It changed everybody. I
Hmm.
mean, because anybody that says they went through COVID and nothing changed at all, they're lying to you.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, like we went through a plague. The only difference is that This time around, it wasn't as bad as like, the bubonic plague or other shit like that. But if we were back then and that happened, oh,
Hmm.
everybody would have died. It
Yeah.
would be bad.
God, can you imagine them times, man?
Oh,
Imagine
fuck
going
no.
back to the Black Death in London.
No.
Man,
Nope. Nope.
that would have been.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I probably wouldn't have done well with the whole back then, but you know,
Nah.
I don't know how the whole African Americans would have been doing at that time, but you know. So, but other than that, I mean, yeah, no, not a good time in history.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah,
But
I'll tell you what though, I wasn't to tell you. Speaking of being out here, the other
mhm.
night I did UFO with my buddy.
You saw a UFO?
Oh yeah,
Let's go, brother. What
yeah.
happened?
So we're sitting there, right? And we're bullshitting, we're drinking and whatnot, but we weren't, drunk to the point where we'd be seeing shit. And we're looking out and over the horizon up in the north, kind of in the northwest portion, right? Or the northeast portion, we started seeing this shit go through. And it literally just looked like, at first, it looked like a little ball of light going through, right? And out of nowhere, it started doing like more of a blinking pattern, but it wasn't like an airplane blink, right? Like, and at first it didn't blink at all. It just was sitting there, just a solid white light just going through. And then as it came up more over towards, the east side, right?
Hmm.
We're sitting there watching it and it started blinking. And as it blinked, you could see almost like a disc shaped outline of it, right?
Whoa.
Now, now I'm sitting there talking to my buddy who's sitting next to me, right? And he'd never seen a UFO at all. And now I'm sitting there looking at this like, well, this is cool, but I've seen cooler ones than this. And he's like, what the hell is that? What is that shit? Bro, I've never seen anything like that. And I'm like, just take it in, brother. Just take it in. Take in the experience.
Yeah.
And eventually it goes past and it disappears. But yeah,
Wow, that's
it
cool,
was
man.
it was in the sky for probably 5 to 7 minutes, just moving along.
Yeah. So that's a long time to get a good look at something.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing is it was far away enough, and it was about this time of night, but it was far away enough to where like you could see the details, but
Hmm.
like I couldn't sit there and see like cockpits or anything like that. But how do I put it? It is about the same distance as like you ever seen like whenever a helicopter's moving along, like
Yes.
like a distance away, but it's not too far away to where it's like just like a blinking light in the distance. It
Yeah.
was probably about that distance away.
Wow, that's cool,
So,
man. And you
oh
say
yeah,
it was like dish shape.
whenever and see that's the thing is like once it kind of got over more towards like this area over here in the east, that's
Hmm.
never started blinking, and once it started blinking, you could see more of a disc shape to it.
Whoa.
So
How big would you say it was roughly?
shit, I would have no idea. I mean, just based off of like, because it's so hard to judge distance at night with it being
Hmm.
like,
Oh
because
yeah.
and it was a clear night like this too, so I couldn't see clouds or anything to judge like distances really at all.
Hmm.
But I mean, to throw a ballpark guess out there, and like I said, it could have been tiny, it could have been fucking huge. I don't know, but it was probably like the size of like a Black Hawk helicopter. So
Wow.
not huge, but not
Yeah,
small by any means.
that's cool though, man. Because you think when we see planes in the sky, like we know how big planes are
Yeah.
roughly, and it's still hard to judge how high up a plane is and stuff. You
Oh
know,
hell
it's
yeah.
never. So yeah, man.
Well, it's like like I said, in the sky, it's so hard because there's nothing you can judge size off of.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can't. There's nothing. I can't sit there and look at a cloud that's like 10,000 foot by like 1,000 feet high and be like, oh, well, that plane is this distance away from that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
So
Did you manage to get a video, or did you
I
not think
did.
of? Oh, you did. You got it on
Yeah, I
video.
did. I'll send it to you after this.
Ah, yes, brother. Because it is
So,
difficult. I've seen things and not recorded it
well,
because
better yet,
sometimes you don't even think about it. So
yeah.
that's
Well,
good that you
I'll tell
you
you what.
thought
I'll
to do
send it
that.
to you, and you can look at it while we're on here, and then on the
Yeah,
video for
let's
YouTube,
go.
you can post it up.
Let's go, brother. Are you sending it through the gram?
Yep.
Cool, man.
And then once you once you see it, you're gonna be like, okay, this kind of like you'll be able to see what I'm talking about whenever you see like how it was almost this shape whenever you're like looking real close at it.
Have you put this out yet? Have you put this out on Instagram or
Nope,
TikTok?
nope.
Man, I'd
Y'all
have
are
had,
first.
I'd have had that out 5 minutes after. Oh my gosh, look at this.
But like I
Ah,
said, the interesting thing was right is that for me, like I said, I don't want to sit there and sound like you know, oh well, I've seen better, but I mean I've seen
you've had a
better.
lot of experiences. Like
Yeah.
you've had, yeah.
So I didn't even think of it in like a sense of you know, oh well, you know, I need to like post this right now because I mean I remember, which I'll get into this afterwards. I don't know if I ever told you the story about the time that I was driving home from the movie theater. I saw a triangle UFO over the
I,
top of the house.
yeah, I don't think you have.
Yeah, I'll
Oh,
tell
we
you.
got to get into that, man. Let me just write
Oh
that
yeah,
down so we don't forget. Triangle,
oh yeah. Let me see here. So
triangle UFO.
yeah,
Oh,
that was a cool one. Okay, let's see here.
that is cool, man. Yeah, I don't think you have told me that.
Okay, there we go. I just sent it to you.
Okay.
It should be going through. Hopefully, it's not too long. Otherwise, it's gonna make me mad because Instagram can't just
So
share videos.
if for the skeptics, and what else could it have been?
Well,
Is there is
I'll say this right. Could it have been a helicopter? Maybe. Could it have been a plane? Maybe.
Did
But
you
consider.
hear it?
But that's the thing, though, and that's what I was gonna say. Is I didn't hear shit at all. Right? Nothing at all whatsoever. And that was the thing that was strange to me. And on top of that, right, even after it went, because one thing that a lot of people don't even take into consideration, right, is that you won't hear that right away. It'll be after it leaves, right? Then you'll start hearing that, but it's because of the distance for the sound to come to you.
Hmm.
So I didn't hear shit before, during, or after we saw it, like whatsoever. So, and the fact
Interesting.
that, like I said, it wasn't even blinking until it got over here. Like once it got over here, it started blinking and flashing.
Interesting, man.
So yeah, I
Yeah, that's cool.
and
I
like it's once you start like looking at because I zoom in, it's you can see it almost looks like it's a disc shape.
see if it's come through. See if it's come through. So I had an experience. I don't know if I think I've talked about it on the show before. But I had an experience during lockdown. Funny enough,
For sure.
I used to spend a lot of my nights on the balcony, and we was on the bottom floor, but you could see the stars. Like, and I used to spend a lot of time looking because there was not a lot else to do. So I was out a lot of nights just chilling and looking at the stars. And there was one night where this sort of similar to what you were saying, this thing was going through the sky, and I guess it kind of looked like shooting star-ish, but it was going
Yeah.
slow. So it wasn't a shooting star. It was going quite slow, and it seemed to sort of go through something. It's very difficult to explain, but it seemed like imagine there was a black hole and it's just sort of disappeared into a black hole.
Oh shit.
It was really like that. It was really, and I was like, whoa, it was so quick. Like there was
There's no time to process.
no getting a video, but it wasn't like shooting star quick, but
Yeah.
it was like sort of, it was a cool thing to see. I don't know. There could be a logical,
Well, look.
uh,
Let me put it this way, and I don't know if you ever because this sounds very similar to one that I had heard about before, and I saw the video recently.
mhm.
You ever seen the video? There is a guy that he's in the military and he actually got in a lot of trouble for it, but he released a video that a lot of people are trying to say was fake and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I mean, it looks real to me. And I've seen a lot of thermal footage, but it's a thermal footage of an airplane that supposedly goes into a portal and just disappears.
Is it the three objects around it? The
Yes.
MH, the
Yep.
MH.
Yeah.
I had Ashton Forbes on the show that researches that.
Now, have you seen the video of that?
Yes,
That's what that sounds like.
it's wild. Yeah.
That's exactly what that sounds like. So
Yes. That's the MH. Oh, I'm going to forget the name of it. MH. Oh, let me go back.
there, I
It's
just,
that
I
was
just,
the aeroplane that disappeared.
yep, yeah, that was a Malaysian flight, something, something.
That's it.
But
Let me
I
just
think that video just got to you.
Malaysian flight MH. What was it? Uh, MH17. Yeah. Okay, let's see this video. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm playing the video.
Sure.
Oh, I can see it. Oh, yeah. Whoa. It's moving very slowly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
And then you'll see once I zoom in how you can almost see that, disc type shape.
yeah. And you can see it blinking. I can see it blinking now.
Yep.
It's very hard with the videos as well, isn't it?
Oh
Because
yeah.
even though our camera phones, they're good, it's still hard to get that clear,
Well,
especially if something in the sky moving.
well, people think that it's just like clean cut, like you're just going to be able to. It's at a night of all things. You're
Hmm.
not going to be able to get a clear video.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
no, no.
no way.
Not unless you've got like a super expensive movie camera or I don't even know if you could then, I don't know, but
Exactly. Well,
yeah. That's a
yeah,
cool video though, man.
thank you, man. Yeah, there's so many settings to that shit, and it's like,
Yeah.
now I had like the right lens on my iPhone with, a X times zoom where I could get in real close, and I might have been able to see more details. But I mean, like even then, that thing though, once I zoom in, you could see where it almost looks like that disc shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Did you
So
see? So did that just fly off into the distance, or did you see it disappear, or
I didn't
anything?
see it. I saw it continue on past the apartments, and I'm like, I'm not getting up to go look over there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Have you seen anything else out there at the same spot, or?
I think I saw something a couple of times before because, like I said, I come out here every night. And I just sit out
Mhm.
for about an hour and a half, and I just look at the sky. Like I'll sit out here, I'll have a nice glass of whiskey or a beer,
Yeah,
and maybe a cigar, listen to some music, and just look up at the sky.
yeah, yeah.
So I've seen some stuff, but I could. It was so minuscule, I couldn't remember it. You
Hmm.
know, but I'll tell you what, though, that the time where I saw that triangle, that shit was crazy. Like I still remember that.
Yeah.
That that wasn't, and I forget about that sometimes, and then like it'll come up in a conversation, like, damn, that was cool as shit. But I still remember it to this day. It was triangular in shape, and it had like three lights on it, and it wasn't super big. It might have been like the size of a car, which obviously like that's big, but it's not like what you would expect.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm driving home from the movie theaters and whatnot, and all of a sudden, like I look out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" So I'm sitting there looking at it, and like I said, it's just sitting there floating right over a house, and it's a one green light, one white light, and one red light on each corner, right? And it's sitting there, it's not moving at all. And I skirted my ass back around to like go see what the fuck it was, and I'd go turn around, and I look, and it's not there at all, gone. And there's nobody outside, like whatsoever.
So this was at night.
Yeah,
Man.
and it was a late showing too. I mean, I want to say I don't even remember what time it was, but I remember it was a horror movie that I'm pretty positive if I remember it was a horror movie that I saw. It was late at night, like late at night, and coming back, and like I said, I turned around and go see it again, and it wasn't there. And
Was it?
I didn't even go that far either. I turned around maybe like I popped a Ewing.
Yeah. That's wild, man. Was there any other reports? Or anyone else see anything like it in your area? Do you know?
Not that I know of, but this town doesn't report shit.
Mhm.
So
I don't think many people do really.
no, well,
I
you
think,
got to think nobody wants to get ridiculed.
mhm. Yeah, even now, where I think most people agree that there's stuff going on in the skies that we don't fully understand, whether it's technology that we've got that's a secret or whether it
Yeah.
is something else. Most people agree that there's stuff going on out there that
Well,
we don't know. It's not common knowledge.
well, and the thing is this, right? Is that how do I put this? I remember telling people a long time ago about what my aunt told me, and I think I told you about my aunt, the one that worked for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Yeah, NASA, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she told me and my family a long time ago that they're out there. She's seen pictures of them, and
Wow.
it is what it is. And she told me though, she said that nobody will ever, like, it will never fully come out, like all the details, because it would destroy society. And it's true.
And
Could
your
you?
aunt worked at NASA and saw
Um,
this stuff.
Not my aunt. I shouldn't say my aunt. She was a family friend, but
Hmm.
she worked at NASA for the Jet Propulsion Laboratory as a photo analyst.
A photo analyst.
Yes.
Wow.
And she worked there, I want to say it was from the 60s until the 90s. So,
Wow. So does
like,
she know stuff about, I'm going to
oh, yeah.
ask, moon
I wish,
landing?
look, but I'll tell you this, though. Sadly, she passed away. But
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
I wish that I could have had more time to ask her more things, you know? But I'll tell you what, she probably saw some wild shit.
Really?
Oh yeah, I mean, but think of
Was she allowed to talk about this stuff? Like, because,
probably not.
yeah.
But whatever I heard about it, she was already like 85, like in her 80s and everything, so she didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And but you know what's interesting though is that her husband actually was like a really big military inventor, and he invented one of the first night vision scopes for the military.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
yeah, but I'm
Man.
trying to figure out how to say that without like people being like, oh well, let's find her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because now, granted, I don't know if you looked him up, if you'd be able to find his name on there. The guy that invented the Starlight Night, well, because it was the Starlight Night scope that he invented, right?
Wow.
I think after he sold the patent to the military, they like kind of were like, okay, yeah, here's money.
Yeah.
You're not going to be associated with this at all. Which I'm not.
Wow.
If the government did that with me, I'd be cool with it. Can you picture the check they cut him?
Yeah. You don't want me
Yeah,
to talk? Fair play. I'm not
yeah,
talking.
fair play. Okay, yeah, make it 4 million. Yeah, I won't say a damn.
That'll buy me a place in Maine.
Oh, yeah, easily. Which fun fact? Before I forget, I was going to tell you too. There's a patch of land in Maine right now. It's $1.7 million for 3,500 acres of land.
Well, don't tell people on the podcast, man. Let's got to stay between us. Let's buy it first.
Well,
I'll
I'll
start
tell you.
saving. Let's start saving.
Well, yeah. Let's get 1.7 billion saved
Yeah,
up.
we can do that.
We
Few
can do it. It's
years.
easy. Look, yeah, 3 years, 3 year project.
Oh, let's go. I want to ask you more questions about the NASA thing, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what. While you're asking me those, I'm gonna grab this charger over here because
Yeah, of course, no problem, man.
I'm gonna turn my camera off real quick so
No problem.
the group can't see my ass when I get up.
No problem. That's fine, man. The YouTube will love it.
Also, I don't know why it says my wife's name on there for the Zoom call, but
Are you okay with that on there? I don't know how to take it off, but
shit, I don't really care. I mean, if you
so
want, you can blur it, but I don't care either way.
I don't really know how you do it. I can look into it, but um, so did you ever talk about the moon landings? Because that's something that I really find so interesting, man.
Like I said, that was one of those things where I never got the chance to really talk to her more
Yeah.
about that I wish I could have.
Hmm.
But yeah, I never talked to her about the moon landing. The one question that I asked her, which is, I like I said, I regret not having more time to
Hmm.
speak with her, but was being able to ask her more questions. Like I really wish that I could ask more questions,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
truly. But like I always say, like such is life. It is what it is.
Yeah, man. I mean, as we get older, like I've found this myself. Like I'm so much more curious now than I was in my 20s. Like I was
Yeah.
curious in my 20s, cool. I found a lot of things interesting, like the paranormal and stuff, but I am so much more curious now in my 30s. I know you're still in your 20s, so
Oh
you're
yeah.
gonna, you're gonna get even more curious. But
Well, and that's the thing is that, but that's the beautiful part about curiosity. It's
Mhm.
always right, especially the deeper you dive in those holes,
Oh man,
it
yeah.
builds up so much more. But that's
Hmm.
the good part. That's what makes it good. You know.
Yeah, 100%. So I'll say your aunt said that there are other beings out there that she's seen.
She said, because when I asked her, I said, "Are aliens real?" And you know, are they real? And she said, "This is simply as this." She said, "Yes, they're real. Yes, I've seen them. They exist and will never come out because it'll destroy the, you know, it'll destroy the economy. Like the
Hmm.
world would be absolutely in utter shambles."
That was what I've talked to. Like I've talked to military guys. I've talked to people connected with NASA as well. I've not talked to them, but I've heard of conversations with people that work at CERN and things like that,
Mhm.
conspiracy stuff. But they all say the same thing, man. I just find that very interesting. That
Well,
it's
I mean, you think about it, right? At the end of the day, anybody that says that they don't exist, you stop playing with yourself.
Mhm.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah.
Like, because think about this, right? Like the universe is literally expanding at this point. It's getting
Hmm.
bigger, you know. But to think that a place that's literally infinite has no other
Oh
intelligent
man, yeah.
beings besides us,
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, it's pretty selfish.
Yeah,
But
100%, man. Yeah.
and then for the people like and I know this really pisses some people off, right? But I'm a Christian myself, and that's not the part that pisses people off. But the part that
Mhm.
pisses people off is that as a Christian, I feel like to be able to put God into a box is very, very, it's undermining, especially like for other Christians. They'll sit there and be like, well, he never put in the Bible that there was, aliens or anything like that. And it's like, so you're telling me that he had to?
Hmm.
He had to say it in there,
Hmm.
right? And are you saying that he couldn't have done shit after the Bible
Yeah.
or even before, right? Because you got to think, right? How, I'm trying to figure out how to put this because I've had this argument with people before, like in my high school, whenever I was, because I grew up in a Christian high school,
Hmm.
and we used to have debates and shit like this all the time. But like one thing for me is that at the end of the day, that like I said, to put a box around God is very disrespectful because it's like, okay, so you're telling me that literally the creator of everything has to tell you, you know,
Hmm.
what he did because
Yeah.
you're that important. Like, no.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, whatever's going on out there, and I don't know. I don't know, right? None of us know what's really going on. And then again, it goes back to, the political shit. The government, as long as they're in power, they're going to be able to control what we hear. Like that, that's just how it is, right?
Hmm.
We can only see certain things, but we'll never have all the information that they have. That's just the truth. And I know someday, whenever I die, probably the first question I'm going to ask is, where are my grandparents and my parents? I want to see them. And the second question is going to be, is Bigfoot real? Right. And the third is going to be, what are UFOs? Right. But, and that's the thing is, it's like, because at the end of the day, I've seen, what I believe is Sasquatch before. I've seen what I believe is UFOs. But what I would really want to know would be, the more in-depth side of that.
What they really are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we don't know that. We don't know exactly what they are.
Well, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, is what we know of Bigfoot real, right? Or is it something else completely different?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
whatever it is, I know what the fuck I've seen. You know what I mean? And I know what other people have seen. And I'm not going to sit there and discredit other people, right? And I've already, like, I've almost gotten into fights before because people sat there and were like, oh, well, you know, like you didn't see that. You didn't see this. You didn't do that. And it's like, I'll take you out to the woods and beat the dog shit out of you. Just show you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's shit happens to people.
Hmm.
And some people are very traumatized by what happens to them. You know what I mean? I'm traumatized. I have trauma from what I've seen.
Hmm.
So to sit there and just, blatantly disrespect somebody
Yeah.
by saying they didn't see it.
Well, just because like you haven't seen something doesn't mean it's not like I'm talking about the other people. Just because
Yeah.
they've not seen it doesn't mean it's not real.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. How many people die of carbon monoxide poisoning? But I'll tell you what, they never saw it.
Hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah.
That, but is it real? Yeah.
Hmm.
Can you see it? No. Can you smell it? No.
Hmm.
Does it
Yeah.
exist?
But
Yeah.
there's something there. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So it's the same thing as like ghosts. You know what I mean? Like all that shit, there's something going on in all of these aspects, right? Because if it wasn't real at all, like, and see, that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people, and I know that, like, we're going off of tangents here, like,
I love it. That's cool, man.
that's how we work.
Yeah.
Nobody gets mad about that. But the interesting thing about it is, right, and this is one of those things where I feel like people really seem to forget, is that at the end of the day, all these things that happen, if there wasn't some sort of truth to it at all, we wouldn't even know about it. We wouldn't talk about it. Nothing would be brought up, right?
Hmm.
Because it's like all these ideas, like you can't sit there and tell me that every single person throughout history has always, faked Bigfoot or faked UFOs or faked ghosts. It's just not possible.
Well, so
Because
many of us have experienced it. So
well,
many of us, we're not all crazy.
well, no, and think about this too. Even the original idea, the first person that had an experience, right, or the first person that brought it up, they had to have something happen. You can't just sit there and pull that shit out of your mind
Hmm.
because what is our thoughts? Our thoughts is continuously viewing the things around us as we grow up that determines what we know and what we think, right? So you can't tell me that somebody was like, oh, well, let's think about this thing where if after people die, right, they become these, glowing things that can walk around through houses and shit, right? You're not going to think about that. What you're going to do is you're going to ask somebody that probably saw something. The next thing you know, he's like, holy shit, I got to write about this. Poltergeist, noisy ghost. There we go. We have a name now. And then it just goes on from there.
Hmm. Yeah. And so many of us experience it. Like
Yeah.
it's more rare now, I think. I mean, to meet someone that's never experienced anything paranormal, you know?
Yeah.
Most people have experienced something.
Something. But
Yeah.
something, like regardless of what it is. But you know what the funny thing is? How many people out there do you think have seen something that they'll try to just write off?
100%. I know people that, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've got family members that I know have told me stuff that's pretty wild, but they're like, yeah, but it could have been, which, all right, things do happen in people's imaginations. That
yeah,
can happen. But I think you do know the difference when you know when you've experienced something that's out of the ordinary.
oh
Like you
yeah.
really do, you know.
Well, your body knows.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well,
You question yourself, you're like, did I see that? Did I really hear that? You
well,
know, but you know.
you think about this, right? Like a perfect example is, which I think I told you about this, and I can't remember if I did or not. But it was, there was one time my wife and I we got this picture from my mom, and it was a painting of a bike that's leaning against a fence, right? And I put it up on the wall in a place where I really thought that I liked it a lot, right? And next thing you know, we leave. We come back and it's taken off the wall and set against another wall, like leaning against it on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that it could have done, because it's not like it fucking bounced off the floor, hit the wall, then magically leaned itself against it without making a dent or anything like that. Because
Mm-hmm.
number one, the nails were still in the studs, right? They were still in the wall. Okay. It wasn't dragged down or anything. It literally was as if somebody picked it up off the wall, walked over, and set it on the floor.
Was that in the house you're in now?
It's right here in the apartment. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And then, all the times where it'll sound like just the other night, I know my kid was asleep. I know he was asleep. And I'm sitting in there, and all of a sudden I start hearing like kids laughing in his room. And kids,
oh,
not a kid, but kids, like multiple.
that's scary, man.
Yeah. But I mean, let me put it this way. How do I put this in like a way where people are gonna like get it? I've seen and done things that are 10 times more scary than a ghost.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well, we've talked before how um, people are often more scary. Like real life people
oh
that we
yeah,
meet in the street
yeah.
are very scary. They can really hurt
Well,
us.
and that's the thing, right? Like, you know, I've been stabbed before.
Hmm.
A ghost is not going to stab me. They might beat the shit out of me,
Yeah.
possibly, and scratch me up, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to get stabbed, right?
You'd hope not. You do hear some stories where they can be aggressive, but yeah.
Yeah, but and that's the thing, though. Is it's like in this situation, I'm not going to get stabbed by a ghost. I'm not going to get scratched up or anything like that. So there's nothing for me to worry about. Is it creepy as shit? Hell yeah, it's creepy as hell. My black ass doesn't want to sit there and do no ghost shit, but I grew up around it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's nothing too.
So what else is going on in the house that you're in now? You've heard the kids laughing, which is scary. Like kid ghosts, I
Yeah,
find very scary. Um,
yeah. I'm trying to think of some other shit that's happened.
have you seen anything? I know you've seen things in other houses that you've lived in. Have you seen anything in this place?
Um, every once in a while, it's like there's a cat in the house, which is strange.
You saw a cat.
Yeah, like you'll see it out of the corner of your eye where it'll look like something on the floor that like crawls by or like walks by and shit.
Yeah.
And it's strange because we don't have a fucking cat in this house like at all.
Do you know I had that in this house.
Oh really?
Have I told you that? So
I think
I had a black cat run past. We was all eating dinner, family dinner.
yeah,
All of us were around the table, and this is before we had Blue the dog. Didn't have Blue, and we're just talking, and all of a sudden I saw a black cat, full bodied, run past me, like very clear, and I jumped. Like I'm like whoa, like jumped more than I've experienced quite a lot of things, but I was very scared.
yeah,
I just said to my wife that there's a cat in the house, and I've looked all around the house. No windows were open, no doors were open. As I say, we didn't have the dog at the time. No idea what that was. And I saw a cat, man. I saw a
yeah.
black cat.
Well, and that's the thing is it's literally it's just like a cat that like I'll see every once in a while in the house. And like I said, I don't know if it's a cat or what, but it just looks it like I grew up with cats, right? Like we had a lot of cats growing up, and it's exactly what it would look like. Like picture walking through a room at night, and
Hmm.
you see like that cat like run through out of nowhere. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. I'm trying to think of some other shit. My wife had her hair pulled one time, which that was pretty creepy.
Whoa.
Yeah, like she was walking out of the bathroom, and something pulled her hair back into the bathroom for a second, and she like closed the door real quick and like was like, "Who's in there?" Like, and opened the door. There's nobody in there.
Whoa, man.
And I'll tell you one of the wilder ones that happened was, and I'm trying to think. I don't think I was able to tell you this last time we spoke, but so I'm in the gym, right, and I'm working out and whatnot, and I'm lifting, and all of a sudden my wife calls me. She's like, "Are you home?" And I'm like, "No, I'm over at the gym. Why, sweetheart?" She's like, "Please don't mess with me. Like, are you home or no?" And I'm like, "No, why? What's going on?" And she's like, "Somebody just knocked on the bathroom door because she was taking a bath, and somebody knocked on the bathroom door, right?" But the
Oh,
strange thing is that it knocked the same way that I do, like the same exact way that I do, because I knock very specifically, and it knocked like that, right? And
whoa,
I'm like, I'm on my way home, so I go in there, right? And I'm immediately like, okay, you know, time to get the guns. So I sit there, I go grab my rifle, I start clearing through the house and everything. And I'm going through each room, each closet, each doorway, each cabinet that's a human could fit into, looking behind shit and everything. There's nothing in there, like nobody in there at all. Like what's
man.
and nobody could have gotten out either because you got to think, right? The only way to get out and like, because the door was locked whenever I walked up to it.
Hmm.
So the only way that they could have gotten out is if they would have, locked it behind them and nobody else has a key. So
And this thing's not like you. That's like mimic behavior.
yeah, yeah, knocked exactly like I did.
Man. I don't know if I've told you, but I've had a few weird things going on around the house that I'm in now.
Oh, really?
Like like I've experienced a lot of stuff. I've seen things, I've seen ghosts, shadow figures.
Oh, yeah.
I've experienced, and it's scary, very scary. But what's happened recently, I don't know what it is. It's more of a feeling, but it's really been freaking me out. And I have to say, in the last couple of weeks, it's sort of stopped. Like from recording this episode, not a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. I think the last thing that I experienced that really freaked me out was a tapping, which was in this room. There was just a tap, 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 and it was like something had fallen and was bouncing. But I'm trying to work out what it was, and there was nothing there.
Uh,
But the
uh,
thing that's the freaky thing that's been happening around here, and it's more my kids seeing stuff and the missus hearing stuff, and that I don't like that when it's like they're experiencing stuff and
yeah.
it, it's not good, man. And there's been a few occasions where I've prayed out loud where I'm like, whatever's here is not welcome,
Yeah.
which I felt like I had to do. Um, my wife heard me call her name, or
Oh,
call not her name, but
oh,
I call my wife Treek. It's like
yeah.
a name that I call her. That I'm the only person who calls her that. It's like a little nickname that I give her.
And she
But
heard.
she heard me, and I was at work, and she just said she just started laughing. I was like, I can't believe you're laughing at that. I think
Oh,
it's just because she's with me, and and we're always talking paranormal now. But so she heard that. There was another time recently as well where we're both watching Netflix. The kids are asleep, and we're watching Netflix, and we're watching some dating show that I really didn't want to be watching, but we're watching it
yeah.
because I have to sometimes settle and watch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I
She
get
does
it.
the same. She
Look,
watches some stuff that she doesn't want to watch sometimes, so it's even. But so and it was okay to be fair. It was a show where they're talking between the. I'll tell you what the show is just in case anyone wants to know. But there's a they can't see each other. It's called Love Is Blind or something
oh, it's
like
like
that.
that curtain type shit.
And they get married. They don't even see each other, but they get
Oh,
married.
hell.
It's wild. I know it's a show, so yeah, but anyway, so they we're watching that show, and we're just sitting there watching it, getting it. I'm getting into it as well, and we heard, and it sounds mad because it sounds like no, surely not, but we heard, ooh, coming from like outside the room.
Oh, hell.
Honestly, like an exaggerated ghost, like your typical cartoon ghost. That's what it sounded like, and we're like, what's going on? What is that? So we paused the telly, gone upstairs, make sure the kids are okay, and the dog, and it wasn't them. Like it definitely wasn't them. And we're like, me and the missus are both freaking out. What the heck is that? So we've rewound the show that we were watching just to see if it was on the telly, just to see
Yeah.
if, but it wasn't. Like we watched the whole the segment that we watched, and nothing, no sound. And we're like, what? And she's like, you got to stop doing this podcast. And I'm like, no, I love it.
Look, that'd
So
have pissed
be
me
it.
off. If I would have heard that ghost do that shit, that would have made me mad. I'd have been like, all noises. You had to sit there and over exaggerate like
It was really like that as well, like really weird, like
like
a yeah, like a jokey ghost, like really like yeah. It was very strange, man. We
you
both
know
heard it.
you know what? I'm gonna just for shits and giggles. I'm gonna see if I can find this sound bit, and I want you
Mhm.
to tell me if it's like this. Which this is, you know,
Do you know
I
what
know.
it's like? It's like if you're watching a Disney film
Yep.
and a ghost is trying to scare Mickey Mouse, and it's like, ooh, it's like this. That's what it was like. It was really like a
Let me.
stereotypical ghost sound.
I'm trying to find it because I know there's an episode of the original Scooby Doo, right?
Hmm.
Like the OG one from like the '60s, and it's the one where
Yeah.
they have those green fucking ghosts that are running around with the like chains on them and whatnot. They're rattling the chains, and
Yes.
they're going through and they're doing that. Woo!
That's exactly what it was like, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would have made me mad. I'd have been like
It
if
did.
all
It did freak us out, man. Like
I would
again.
I'd have grabbed the gun.
But the worst thing recently that happened, like, and this really scared me because again, at the time that it started happening, I wasn't thinking ghost, which is obviously very scary. But I thought we had intruders in the house, bit like
Oh
what happened to you. So I just finished the recording, or I was putting an episode out, whatever I was doing. I was in here
yeah,
recording, working, and I've left the gone outside, and my dog's in his cage. He's got a big cage that we put him in,
yeah,
and he just started like going mad, like barking, like really mad, which he never does at night. And I was like, Blue, what's the matter, boy? And then I heard someone downstairs. I heard like movement downstairs, right? And the light was still on downstairs, but there was movement. And I'm thinking, someone's in the house. Someone is in the house. Like I
yeah,
really, and I don't have a gun, unfortunately. I've got a BB gun, but it's not going to do a lot.
yeah.
And
You'd beat the shit out of them with it.
yeah, yeah. And I'm honestly thinking, what can I grab? Because I need to go
Yeah,
downstairs. There's going to be someone there. The noise was so loud. Someone moving around. Got the dog out, and me and the dog, we've gone downstairs together. Nothing there, man. But I was terrified. That was very strange as well. And that was a moment that I was like, whatever's in this house, you're not welcome. Leave now.
yeah. Leave.
Yeah, leave now. And I found myself doing that a few times recently. Because as much as I love this stuff, and I really do, and I said a little while ago, I don't want to experience anything anymore. I do,
Yeah,
but I
within reason.
within reason, not when I'm sleeping, not when I'm sleeping, and
Uh,
daytime, and not in my house.
well, and that's like for me, right? I remember. Well, shit, you remember that sounds similar to you remember that time whenever I told you about how it sounded like somebody came through the garage door at my old
Yes,
house.
and you got the gun out and you went
Yeah,
for him.
because I don't like even whenever I saw that ghost standing over my mom, like I told you too, I tried to shoot it, but it's because at first your mind's thinking in its rational way, which is there's somebody in my house.
Hmm. Did you
Like,
actually shoot?
no, I didn't, thank goodness. But I couldn't even I couldn't grab my gun. I was frozen. So I'm sitting there like this trying to grab it and I can't. I couldn't move. But I'll tell you what though, if I could have, I probably would have shot it.
Was that like a paralysis?
I don't know if it was paralysis or just my mind and my body just being like, fuck.
Hmm.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no. And then like all of a
yeah.
sudden it disappears and you're like, okay, what the hell was that?
So
Right.
for people not listening that haven't listened to our past episodes, was that like there was like you had like a cowboy ghost in your house? Was that correct?
It was like, oh, how do I put this? So I ended up, kind of figuring out we're pretty sure that it was my grandpa.
Okay. And he used to wear
And
the flannel shirt, was it?
yeah, because what he would wear is he would wear blue plaid and like different plaid like sports coats.
Hmm.
Right? And my grandfather, he used to sell carpets. Like that was his thing, right? And my grandpa passed away before I was even born, right? So he passed away, what? That would have been, I think, 96, right? 1996. And he was about the same height as me, so 6'2, 6'3, and would wear these, like really like nice plaid jackets. and that's what he was wearing. Like the dude was about my height with slicked over black hair and wearing a blue plaid jacket.
Whoa.
So, but he was standing over my mom, which kind of, I mean, it makes sense if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, of
that's
course.
who it'd be. I'm actually gonna message my mom real quick and just see if she can send me a picture of my grandpa, just so
Yeah.
you can get an idea of you know what it looks like.
And you was gonna shoot him.
Yeah, sorry, grandpa, but
No, but in those situations, man, it's
yeah,
scary when you see stuff. Going back to what we said about the UFOs, do you think the world would go crazy if indefinitely the government came out and said UFOs are real?
if they said that, which I mean, if you think about it,
Which they sort of already have in a way, and in a way not. Oh, we froze.
oh,
Oh, he's back. Sorry, we froze for a second there, brother.
oh, there we go.
They've given us
But
clues.
they already somewhat said it whenever they said the thing about how
The
you
tic
know
tac.
yeah, they said the tic tac, and then they said we do have bodies, or we don't have. They didn't say it about the bodies. They said we have off-world crashed vehicles, right?
Yeah.
So they already came out and said it, but I feel like the thing that would really make the world go ape shit would be if they like released all the details, right? Which that's what I think that our family friend was talking about, was that they released everything,
Hmm.
like all the shit that they know about, like what, let's say it had something to do with the moon landing, or even shit on the moon, or like let's say that they're, because you got to think it doesn't always have to be like unbelievably bad shit that it could be talking about, right? It could also be about shit like, okay, well, let's say that all of a sudden they're like, well, the planet that these things come from, the entire sublayer of the planet is gold,
Hmm.
right? So all of a sudden now it's like, okay, so they have literally an unlimited supply of gold and we can't go get it. But then we have people that are starving on Earth. You see what I mean? So it's like, it's shit like that that I
Hmm.
think would really destroy, the economy completely.
Do you think we landed on the moon? Controversial one.
I think so. And I truly do. I think we did. Now, sorry about that. I got something in my mouth. I don't
That's
know.
right, bro. No problem, man.
But I think we landed on there. I think there's a lot of mystery behind it in the sense of like what the fuck was seen up there.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of shit where, let's be real, the government's hiding. I mean, because you ever heard about the people that were like the CDL truck drivers that were listening on ham radios and heard like the correspondence that wasn't blocked?
Tell us, man. No, I haven't.
Oh, dude. Okay, so get this, right? So there's a portion in time where they lost communication, supposedly. I want to say it's that they lost communication, right? But supposedly they went to the more encrypted line of like speaking, but that the way to do that was to go through like the ham radio signals, right? So people were listening to that, and that part didn't get cut out from the ham radio, but it got cut out from like the television and the radio broadcast. Okay. And they were talking about how like, they could see like shapes and whatnot, like coming through. And like it was like weird shit. You can look it up, and I'm pretty sure like I don't know if you'll ever be able to find like the recording, right? But I'm pretty sure you can find like some of the shit that people were talking about that like they were saying on there.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna, after we get off the call, I'll try to look it up and see if I can find anything on there. You can post like a link of like,
Yeah.
people said.
That's interesting, man. Was the truck drivers were getting the signal,
Yeah.
and
So
obviously
like
they
people,
reported it after.
yeah. So like the truck drivers and just people that listen on like ham radios were like listening in on that shit.
That's wild, man. Yeah, I just don't know what to think. Like my opinion changes every day on everything
Yeah.
because
That's a good way to
because
be.
yeah, yeah. So I don't with the moon landing. I don't know, man. Some days I'm like, no, I don't think we did. How? With apparently our cell phones are more powerful than the technology we use to get there. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I really don't know.
Well,
But I
well,
do.
quick fun fact for you: the same technology that they used to the same technology they used to be able to communicate with the astronauts, right? Whenever they went to the moon, is the same technology that was used to start Twitter. Fun fact.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting.
Now, to make sure I'm not sounding like an asshole and I'm just talking out my ass, I'm gonna look this up real quick. Twitter.
Do you know
Boom.
what? I would love to have. I listen to Joe Rogan quite a lot, and I would love to have like a Jamie that
Oh
can
yeah.
sort of, as we're talking, can sort of say stuff like.
Look,
Hopefully, one day we can get a Jamie.
I'll be your Jamie.
Oh man, you can be Jamie.
Look, I'll be your Jamie.
100%, man. It's
Look,
just
that's what's gonna happen whenever we get that property in Maine.
yes.
We'll
Oh,
be in
that'd be
the studio and
amazing.
everything.
Yes, brother. And I can be like, let's just check that.
Yeah.
Aaron, what we got? Aaron, what we got, man?
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's see. So
So the same technology that we communicated to the astronauts to is the technology that we use to start Twitter, X
that's
now.
what I'm trying to think. Yeah, Twitter, X, formerly Twitter. You know,
Yeah,
you
it's X now.
got.
It's better now.
Yeah. Okay. Here, so Twitter communications.
I hope you're right, man.
I'm really,
No pressure.
I'm trying to figure out because I swear, like I know I'm not talking out of my ass about this, but I just want to back myself up.
Yeah, it's cool. I trust you, brother. Where did you get this information, though?
Shit, if I remember hearing it like 10 years ago. Okay, let's see. Uh,
That's the thing. When you look into topics that we look into, like there's so many rabbit holes. There's so many different opinions.
oh yeah.
There's so many different routes you can go down, and they've all got great arguments, and that's why this it can get confusing.
Okay, I can't find it. I promise anybody that's
I
listening,
believe you.
I'm not talking out of my ass.
We'll say it's true.
Yeah, well, hey, it's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So has anything else been happening, brother, since we last spoke? Any other paranormal business? Any other high strangeness that you can think of?
I'll tell you what, like, trying to think of some other shit because I know other shit's happened. But
Have,
you
have
know
I
what's
told you? Sorry, man.
Oh no! Tell me what? Now I'm curious.
No, I was going to say, have I told you I would say my big UFO encounters? Have I
I
told
don't
you?
think you have.
Because I've had some wild ones, man.
Really?
And you said something earlier about when you saw the black triangle, sometimes you forget that.
Yeah.
And people are like, how can you forget something like that when that's an amazing thing to see? And you can. Not that you forget it, but it goes to the
Well,
back of your mind.
it's almost like there's this thing called life that happens where you have consistent shit but you got to think, right? Like all out of all the shit that you're dealing with on a daily basis, every day,
Hmm.
is the last thing that you're going to consistently think about is that moment. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But that's why I said, that's why I've always told you, even from the beginning of talking to you, like the best stories come around in campfires, come around in conversations like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's because you start diving into those memories again. That's where you get those old timers where they'll start telling stories where it's like, you know what, I remember whenever this happened, right?
Hmm.
Or, shit like that. It's an interesting thing that happens.
Yeah,
So,
man.
but
I was
that's
uh, I
that's
was
how you
on
go.
I was on Paranormal Heart podcast when I first started doing the podcasting. But Kat was the first one to have me on her show, and I was took going through my paranormal experiences because when I started Let's Get Freaky, I wrote all my experiences down so that they were fresh for when I talk
Yeah,
about it. And so I'm talking about my experiences, and as I'm talking to her, I had this memory of being 14 years old and seeing something like the memory. I wouldn't say the memory was gone and just suddenly, but for whatever reason, it hadn't come to my mind when I was thinking about all the paranormal stuff that I'd experienced.
yeah,
But it's an incredible thing that we saw. So I was 14 years old and we were all playing football in the street, soccer. We're all playing soccer in the street. And we've all stopped because we can see this object in the sky that was like eh, just a mad shape. It was like a building in the sky,
Oh
but
shit.
really far in the distance. Like it was far away, but we could see it. And not that I forgot this memory, but it was there for whatever reason. It's come back to me as I'm talking to Kat, and I'm telling her this what I experienced. And my brother was there. I had other friends that were there. We all saw it, and it was like an orange silvery object. And it was kind of like if you picture a building that you get in Dubai, like a futuristic building,
Yeah.
and just picked one of them up and just plopped it in the sky. It was quite far in the distance though, and we're like, we're trying to work out what it is, and didn't see it disappear, didn't see it fly, didn't see it move. We just started playing football again, soccer, right? And it really bugs me to this day that we did that. Anyway, I'm telling Kat what I saw,
Yeah.
and my brother listened to the episode, and he called me up, and he was like, "Bruv, just listen to your episode with Kat, and what the heck did we see that day? I remember seeing it. Like, what was it?" And for me, that was like so good that he remembered it as well.
Yeah. That you had that.
Yeah, because I was 14 at the time, so he would have been 11. He's 3 years younger than me, but he remembered it as well. And like we're both like now, every now and again, we'll talk about it, but we never really spoke about it
Until
after
then.
that happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was an amazing thing to see, man. I can see it in my mind now. Like it was an incredible thing to see.
But then it's like, like we just said, it's one of those things where your mind will, it puts it to the side.
Hmm. Yeah, we wanted to play football.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, I was watching it for like 5 minutes, whatever it was. Didn't have a phone, obviously, at the time. I did have a phone, but it was like
Like,
like the first Nokia's. Yeah, it was a brick.
oh
Yeah, we
yeah.
used to call it a brick. So it didn't have no camera or anything like that. But yeah, man. So that was interesting. And you
And
reminded when you reminded me of that when you said about the, you know, not that you forgot what you saw, but the memory just wasn't there.
well, and that's the thing about it is it's like, how do I put this? It's whenever you have those types of experiences, after a while, like if you have a lot, they start to add up to the point where like you're like, oh, hold on, let me go through the Rolodex.
It molds into one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then you start. I'll tell you the one thing that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, which is after a while of having a lot of experiences, you start to question which ones like you might have made up in your head.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you're like, did that really happen to me?
Hmm. Yeah.
But then you think about it and you're like, no, this did happen.
You
Like,
start doubting yourself. You start,
yeah,
am I crazy? There was
yeah,
there was there was a period when, not am I crazy? It's weird because there was a period when I started doing Let's Get Freaky, where I was experiencing a lot of stuff, like all of a sudden. And it was
yeah,
like I was seeing things in the corner of my eye. I was hearing things. I heard someone walk down the stairs. I woke up and there was shadow figures, and like, I was getting a lot of that like happening.
yeah,
And I was like, "Whoa! Like what is this? Like what is going on? Am I manifesting this because I'm talking about it all the time, thinking
yeah.
about it all the time? Is this in my mind? Like I really started to think, am I going a little crazy? You do, but yeah." There is
Well,
something to people that experience a lot of paranormal throughout their life.
well, and that's the thing is that I just recently had somebody, and I had never thought about this before, right? Is that because we have a really nice cigar lounge in my town that whenever you're here we're gonna have to go to,
Let's go, brother.
and beautiful cigar lounge, and we're in there. Shout out Goodfellas Cigar Lounge, excellent place. Um, but we're in there, right? And I'm just telling ghost stories and shit that's happened to me, and one of the guys there, he's hitting his cigar and whatnot. He's like, maybe you're the one that's haunted, and I'm like,
Mm.
what do you mean? And he's like, seems like every place you go to, something happens. Do you think that you're the one that's haunted and it's just shit's happening to you in those places? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Like, honestly, maybe he's right.
Mhm. Yeah, I do think does the paranormal is because certain people can go into a house that some people will consider super haunted, super active,
Yeah,
and someone will go in there and they're like, "No, I don't feel nothing, man. Don't feel anything."
yeah.
Is it the person? I think a lot of the time it is the person, like the openness to it.
Well,
If you're super open to the paranormal, chances are you are going to experience something.
oh yeah, very much so. I mean, but you got to think, right? Like I heard somebody talk on a show about this the other day, and they're like, you got to think about this. Picture you know, you've been dead for like 150 years, and so many people walk in and out of your house, the house you grew up in, that you lived in, and all that, right? And nobody says anything to you, nobody talks to you, nobody acknowledges you're there. Eventually, if you find that one person that can see that you're there or sense you, you're gonna fuck with them.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Like this is
Just to
how,
try and communicate.
yeah, it's attention, you know. But it's the same as like, and I don't want to compare like, because I don't want to be disrespectful to the dead, but like, it's the same as like a kid, right? Like kids crave attention, so sometimes they'll do shit just to get the attention, even if
Hmm.
it's bad, right? Like sometimes kids will break shit just to get attention, right? It's the same thing I can imagine with them because I mean at that point, like they've gone so long without.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like if I was a ghost, I'd fuck shit up all the time. I'd mess with me.
Be
I'd sit there
tapping the
knocking on my
desk.
for a while, the bedroom
Yeah.
rack. Shit.
Yeah. Wake
But
up. It's
yeah,
three
wake up,
o'clock.
come on, we got shit to do. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's just how it is, though. But it's like, I mean, like I said, I'm not a ghost, so I can't speak for him. But I
Mhm.
can definitely tell you, like, if I was in their situation, I would definitely, do
Yeah.
stuff like that. But it's
Yeah.
because you gotta think, like I said, if you've had that many years of no human contact, and then all of a sudden you have shit happen, it's like you'd want to do shit. So
It's interesting what you said, man, about are you the haunted one?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
if they can find
Certain
out,
people experience a lot,
well, yeah.
and some obviously some people don't experience anything. But and why is that? You
Well,
know?
think about this, right? Like, if a house can be haunted, how come a person can't? Because a
Hmm.
person's a vessel as well.
Hmm.
It's just like a
Well,
house.
people get possessed and
Yeah,
carry attachments.
yeah. So
You know?
who's to say? Like, and like I said, I don't know if I'm haunted. If I am, I'm living life pretty well. I'm not
Yeah,
too concerned about it.
they're happy ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and here's my deal, right? Is I feel like that type of energy, it's you get back what you put out. Like for me, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I wish them the best, the best, right? I hope that, if I am haunted, right? Knock on wood, but like if I am haunted, I hope that whoever is following me, like, is able to be at peace with themselves. I don't wish them bad things. You know what I mean? Because even if they are gone, I still wish them good, and I hope that eventually they can find their way into, being with God,
Hmm.
and being with their loved ones. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, if that is the case, I can't change shit, so there's no point to be like, like it is what it is. At the end of the
Does
day, such is life.
I know your boy is young, but does he see stuff? I know you said you hear stuff in his room
I'll tell you what,
because that's when it starts. Where it
he's
seems.
yeah, he's never pointed shit out. But the other night, I will say this happened. Right, is he walks into the room with my wife, and my wife walks in there, and he walks in and he goes like, "No, no," and he won't walk any farther than like the doorway, right? And he starts pointing at something, and he's like, "No," right? And I'm like, because then all of a sudden I hear my wife in the room, and she's like in that room, and she's like, Harlan's scared of something in here. Like he wants because he kept calling me. He was like, "Daddy," like, "No, Daddy," like, "Daddy," you know, asking for me to come in there. And she's like, "Something's scaring me. Wants you to like get it out." And I'm like, "Well, what's in there?" No, she's like, "I don't know. I don't see anything in here." And it didn't click with me until like now, like until just now. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's what it was, but I mean, I'll tell you right now, his little self is in there sleeping right now, perfectly fine.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, who knows?
man. 'Cause especially at that age, like well, you might remember, but a lot
Yeah,
like my mum said, I used to talk to an imaginary friend when I was little.
yeah,
Not saying that that's definitely a ghost, but I certainly the paranormal's always been in my life. Like even when I wasn't aware of it, there was stuff going on when I was a kid that used to scare me. I've always had a natural fear of the dark for whatever reason. I
yeah,
know a lot of people do, don't get me wrong, but always was a bit of a weird kid that felt like there was something watching me. And, eventually I had that experience where I saw something in my room, the man in my room.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, man,
Well,
it's
well, you think about it like this, right? And I have a handful of theories, but like one of my theories about the reason that kids see shit so much more is because you got to think, right? Like, for my belief at least, Christianity, you know,
Mhm,
you're a soul and God knows you before you come here, right? So if you're a soul and all that, you are closer. It's the same thing as like who's the two age groups that you see that people see ghosts the most in? People that are young and people that are about to die, right?
mhm.
Now, why
Yes.
that? Is it's because they're closest to that veil. Because you got to think that veil is really close to you whenever you're first born to you're about like 5 or 6, right? Because you're 5 years old, like you've been 5 years old. You're 5 years from the time where you were nothing but a soul,
Hmm.
right? But then you think about the fact of like, okay, well, on top of that, whenever you're old, you're getting close to death. You're getting closer to that veil of becoming just a soul again.
Hmm.
So that's why I feel like these people and these kids have those experiences like that.
Hmm. Yeah, man.
So
And then do you think that's why, like, kids like us that sort of carried on having it into our teens and we're open to it then? Like some kids, there seems to be like a switch off point where they stop experiencing stuff and then maybe stop believing in it and then
I
they
think
stop seeing it.
I think honestly some of it's genetic,
Yeah. Yeah, that seems
like
to be a
truly,
thing.
because like I'll tell you right now, like my family, all like a lot of them are very very sensitive to shit.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it
I
does seem to be in the family.
yeah, and I don't know why, but I mean at the end of the day, like it happens like that.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting, man.
but well, I'll tell you what, I gotta take a quick piss real quick.
Yeah, that's okay,
So
brother. I'll
what?
pause it. I'll
Yeah,
pause
what
it, man.
we'll do
We'll be
is
back soon. We'll be
yeah,
back.
we'll be back.
Okay, we're back on. We're back on. We've had our
Yes. Yeah.
toilet break and we're ready to go. We get we're getting quite deep tonight, brother. We're
Yeah,
going we're
we are.
going we're going everywhere, but we're also getting deep like we always do.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Every time we got to though.
We got to, man. It's just what we do. But where was we? What was our last?
Okay.
I feel
I
like you
think
was about to say something, and
oh
then the
we were
P
talking
kicked in.
we were
Yeah,
talking about theories.
yeah.
So another theory that I have, right? And this is more along the lines of like ghosts themselves, okay?
Hmm.
I feel like the best explanation for ghosts as a whole is energy never dies. And I feel like what it is the residual energy of, you know, ghosts for say, like of a person. So it's not like a residual haunting for say, like because residual haunting is a very, very real thing, right? But ghosts for say in themselves, I feel like is the residual energy of a person's soul, right? Because if you have somebody that's around on Earth for what? I mean, let's say, 80 years, okay? Their their soul is going to have a tie to this earth, regardless of how you want to cut the cake. That's just how it is. So it's the same thing as like, okay, well, you ever had how do I put this? You ever taken a charger off the wall, like fresh off the wall, but you plug it into your phone and it still charges for that little 0.2 second, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that. It's exactly like that. So it's almost like that last little bit of energy that's left over after somebody goes. But it's been around for so long that it still holds the same personality, still has everything. It's just not them,
Hmm.
right? But they still have the same memories. They still have the same thoughts and all that. The same. But then there's some people, and this is where I feel like residual haunting is, where it's not really the soul that's like part of the soul energy that's there, but it's just the energy of that person as a whole,
Hmm.
where it's like the consistent of doing the same thing over and over again for hundreds of years. That's what that residual haunting is.
Yeah. It's just like an energy that is just like
Yeah.
a trapped energy. Yeah.
Now, I could be talking out my ass right now, and like that could be the complete
No,
opposite,
it's interesting,
really.
man. Yeah.
But who knows?
It is interesting.
But that's the
That
beauty of
that is the beauty because there's so
possibility.
many different possibilities, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll ever get the answers. Like, well, all we know is that there's more going on. That is 100%. There is more around
Yeah.
us that we can't always see, that we sometimes get a glimpse of. I believe, what that is, I don't know, but man, we're gonna have fun trying.
Cool.
We're gonna have fun trying to find out.
And also, here is a picture of my grandfather. So that is him.
Oh
There.
wow,
So,
it's like a cool dude, man.
and he sold carpet with his brother and everything. But that was there's a picture, and because I asked my mom to send me a picture of him in his plaid jacket, and she could only find that one. But there's a picture of him in a blue plaid jacket that I've seen, and I didn't realize it until after the fact and everything. So I don't know.
Wow, yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool, man.
sorry for almost shooting you, Grandpa.
Yeah. You just reminded me of something. When I was one of my first, my mum just told me this the other day. One of my first words, and my mum said when I said it, she was like, "Oh," she couldn't believe it. So I never met my mum's mum, my nan.
Yeah.
She passed away before I was born. But my first word, or one of my first words, was Iris, which is my nan's name.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like it's quite a weird. Like, it's not the most
That's
common
right.
name. It's not really a name that my mum was like, "How have you just said that?" Now, I guess
Yeah.
I maybe could have heard my mum and dad talking about my nan and like thinking like maybe, but it's still weird for a kid to say
No,
that
that's strange because I mean you got to think too. Like,
because she would have called her mum as well.
well,
She wouldn't have said Irish. She
yeah,
wouldn't have
yeah.
called her
No,
by her name.
that's interesting. That almost reminds me of a story. So I remember there was a story one time. Well, I'm saying it like that. There was a thing that happened one time where we were in Gettysburg, and I think I said something about this to you before, but we were down in Gettysburg, and we had one of those ghost boxes, right?
Hmm.
And sorry, I'm trying to
That's right,
go
brother.
go out of all these apps so I can get this to not die super quick. But so we're doing this like little ghost box thing and whatnot, right? And all of a sudden on the thing, my mom goes, "I wonder if Grandma's gonna come through," right? And the first thing that happens right after she says that is the ghost box says Alice, which is my grandma's name.
Whoa.
Yeah,
See, how can you explain that, man?
yeah. Like there's no other way to explain that besides,
Yeah,
well, no, grandma came through.
yeah, yeah. That's wild, man. That's cool though. That's a cool experience.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the good part about it is that, you know, it's one of those things where at the end of the day, my my grandma has always had a very, very prevalent presence in our lives and everything, and in my life in particular, just because. And my mom even just recently told us a story about how she saw my grandma whenever she just like really recently died. Like we were actually going over to get chair. I think it was we were getting tables from the church that my mom grew up in and I grew up in to. I want to say it was for a rummage sale that we were having at grandma's house to get rid of her things right after she died. And my mom had opened the door, like the back seat of like their car, and my grandma was just sitting in there. Yeah,
Whoa,
was
full
just
bodied.
yeah, full bodied and everything. And my mom like, and she's like sat there and like looked over at my mom like, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. But literally just looks over at my mom like, "Yep, like you ready to go?" And that was it. And then like my mom blinked and she was gone.
Wow,
Yeah,
give me goosebumps, man.
yeah, that shit.
Wow.
Like hearing about that because I had forgotten. But there it goes again. I had forgotten about it. My mom brought it up to me recently, and I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
my
Wow,
mom
man.
crazy shit. Like I remember my mom told me a story about how she saw her great grandma, right, and she always used to call her a bun lady because she would always wear her hair in a bun, right, and I remember my mom telling me a story about how whenever she was living in my mom and dad's first house together, right, that she was asleep and she woke up from a dead sleep to my great great grandma floating over her, like over the top of her lengthwise and going, shh.
Wow.
I'd have started swinging. I'm like, I'm like, no, whatnot. But
Man.
yeah,
Whoa. I swung at a shadow figure once. You know that, didn't you?
you swinging?
I swung at a shadow figure
Did,
when I
did
when I was when I was 21.
did you hit anything?
I just went through it. I was in bed. I woke up, and me and my brother at this time shared a room upstairs. We had a loft conversion. Me and my brother had our own space upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
So I was at university at the time, so I wasn't always at home. I was home for the weekends. So I woke up during the night, and there was the shape of a man standing over me. And this is before I really knew about shadow figures and things like. I didn't really know what a shadow figure was at this time, and it was your typical darker than the room, like it was, and I could just see it, the outline of a man. So I thought it was my brother scaring me. I thought my brother's like scaring me. So I've tried to punch it, and I've sort of gone through it and obviously made a bit of a noise when this happened. And my brother turned the lights on the other side of the room and
Oh,
was like, "Bro, what's the matter? Calm down, calm."
oh,
So I was obviously quite loud when I took a swing. And I was like, "Oh man, I just thought you were standing over me," and I was like really scared, obviously. And yeah, and at the time I didn't go, "Oh, I just saw a shadow figure." I didn't really know what it was. I just thought I was like stressed at uni and stuff. And it was only later on learning more about that sort of stuff that I was like, "I've seen that a figure darker than the room," and that
uh,
I've had it since then, like in this house. But
knock on wood, man.
yeah, man, I don't like it, especially when you're asleep and you wake up. It's always scary when you're sleeping and someone's there when you wake up,
Well,
whether it's your wife or the kids, like they're awake looking at you. That's scary. So
well,
then to see something that you don't know what it is, yeah, man.
well. That's why, like, you know, I always, I've always told anybody that I've lived with, don't, don't shake me awake. Gently wake me up,
Hmm.
because, like, you got to think with all my trauma and everything, like, if I wake up, which I already have bad dreams consistently, like I have consistent nightmares, right? So,
Really?
oh yeah, I've always had bad nightmares, like, but they're trauma nightmares. So, like, they're basically like based around the feelings of what I've already felt like in real life. So, if I get woken up like suddenly, I come out of the sleep like ready to fight, like,
Hmm.
same way that I was in those situations. Which so not good to have if somebody's sitting there like, "Hey, wake up, wake up, wake up!" Like,
Yeah.
because people have almost gotten hurt for me. Like I remember there was one time my little brother sits there, right? And he's just a friend of mine, but I've known him for over, 15 years now. So he's like a little brother to me. And he sits there and he wakes me up and he goes, "Hey, wake up, wake up." And I sit there and I reach out and just grab him by his throat and I, cock back like I'm gonna hit him and whatnot. But you gotta think in my dreams though, I'm consistently like dealing with, you know,
Hmm.
like incidents like people trying to shoot at me, people stabbing me, or people fighting me and whatnot. So like if I wake up and somebody's like right over the top of me, immediately I'm fighting,
Yeah.
right? So I've always told people like don't grab me like that. So if I wake up out of nowhere and somebody's standing over me, I'm gonna have that thought process enough to be like, who is this? If I like look over, my wife's still in bed, they're getting shot. Like I don't care. Because like, number one, my kid's young enough to where he's not getting out of his room because we have those like door things. And
Hmm.
we put a gate in front of his door at night. That way, like, there's no way that he can get out of his room at all
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
we let him out whenever he wakes up in the morning. And it's there'd be nobody else in my apartment besides an intruder or a ghost that would be staying over me at night if my wife wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And even if my wife was doing it, I would ask her, "What the hell are you doing? Like, what are you just watching me for?"
I had a thing once, and this was quite recent as well, not
Yeah.
too long ago. So I woke up during the night and I could see my wife sitting up, and it looked like she was crying. So I woke up and I'm like, "What's the matter, babe?" And I've sort of like gone to rub her back and just gone through her. And then
Oh,
and then I looked down
oh,
and my wife's asleep, and I was like, "What the And I was,
oh,
I was like, what? And I was just, I saw her, and I woke up and she's there, like looking like she's crying, and I'm just thinking something's wrong. Just gone to like put my hand on her back to like say, what's going on? You okay?
ugh.
And then look down, that
And
I've
she's
gone
there.
through whatever this was, and it sort of just disappeared or whatever. Or I mean, it's weird,
Did,
man. I
did it
don't
look
know.
like that? I'm
What
trying
is
to see.
that?
So this is. I'm trying to see here. I'll use the candle because aesthetically pleasing. Oh
Yeah,
shit! Hold on.
you're
I
not
know.
burnt. You're not burnt yourself, have you?
Okay, let's see. So
What is
I
that?
have a banshee on my arm,
Whoa.
and this is actually an ink engraving from I want to say it's 1814 of an Irish banshee. But did it look like that almost? Except just like on her face instead of
Yeah,
holding it.
like a cold up. Yeah, it was like a cold up. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that, man? What is the banshee?
So the banshee is an Irish spirit of a woman who basically cries or screams whenever. So if you hear her cry or scream, somebody close to you is going to die.
Oh, whoa.
So if you hear her scream or cry, somebody near you is going to die soon.
But well, I didn't hear anything, but whoa.
Yeah. And that's so
Right.
fun fact. I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but because I think I've spoken to you about my Irish heritage and everything. But
Yes, yeah, yeah. Could the will o' the wisp?
yep,
That's what
yep,
we talked about before. Yeah.
exactly. And one of the things is that I want to get all of the Irish folklore tattooed on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why have you got that tattooed, man?
So,
I mean, it's a cool tattoo.
oh
Don't
yeah.
get me wrong.
So I got this tattooed, and the reason being is because that represents, for me personally, the fact that anybody that's close to me could die at any point in time, and that I could die at any point in time. So what it does is every time I look at that, it's a constant reminder of the fact that anybody near me can go. So I need to cherish every moment that I have with everybody as much as possible. And I also need to be able to put myself out there towards everybody else to where if I died tomorrow, people are going to still be able to remember me in a good light.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what that means for me.
That's a good message, man. because it's always too late. It's always uh, something bad happens to someone, and you're like, "Man, I wish I."
Wish I
And
could have done.
and we're all hypocrites for it. We all sometimes
Oh yeah.
don't call that person as much as we should, or and life gets in the way. But it's not until they're gone that you're like, man,
Well,
I should have done more.
and that's the thing, right? It's like I think that way about both of my biological grandparents, right? Because my biological grandfather, he had messaged me, and I was working a lot of the time, and he sent me a message and was like, hey, grandson, right? And he messaged me on Facebook, and I never replied, right? But it was because I was like, because I was planning on going up there at the end of the month to go see them, and I never replied, and I ended up being up there a month later, and it was because of the fact that he died, right? So it was one of those moments where it's like, damn it. But
Mm.
then on top of that too, then same deal with my grandmother. My grandmother had messaged me, and I was busy as shit, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get up there soon, and I'll get back to her. Right? Never got a chance to be there. So,
Oh.
but the thing is, though, is I've made peace with that, but it's because I realized that every like I've always tell you, man, and like I try to tell everybody that listens to these is everything happens for a reason, and you just got to figure out the reason of why. It's
Hmm.
always like that. Like I don't care what's going on in life, what's happening, anything. Everything happens for a reason. You just got to figure out the reason of why it's happening.
Hmm. Do you think a lot of the time we're getting it's like a lesson? What we're
Oh
getting is a lesson, and we're learning
yeah,
because
I,
all the bad things that happen, sometimes you can take positives from it. Most things that happen, you can sort of be like, yeah, okay, that sucked. That what happened there sucked, but I'm going to take a positive, and going forward, I won't let that happen again, or I'll react different, or you can
well,
normally take a positive.
well, think about this, right? If I didn't have that happen to me, I wouldn't be as appreciative of the people around me that I have right now, right?
Hmm.
And both of my grandparents lived long lives. I mean, let me put it this way: my grandfather, he died at 84. Okay, the day before he died, he was still laying concrete
Wow,
at 84
it's a tough dude.
was still laying concrete. So it's like they both of them had long lives.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
yeah, man.
but
Brother, we have got deep tonight.
oh yeah,
We've
well
got
look,
we,
that's
we've gone everywhere.
well, and I'll tell you another just because I'm looking at it. I just recently got this one, so here's another one of my tattoos. I'm trying to see how I can do that. So,
That's cool, man.
what that is this is called the Dolahan. You ever heard of that?
I don't think I have. No.
So that is the Irish version of the Headless Horseman, which is the original Headless Horseman, right? Now,
Interesting.
what this is an ink engraving from I want to say like the early 1900s or the late 1800s, and it's the Headless Horseman riding under a moon, and the head of the horse, and he's throwing his head in front of him so they can see farther. But what that is that basically that is the Irish Grim Reaper. So where he goes, death follows. And I kind of got that because of the fact that, you know, the things that I've done in my past and the things that I've seen and what I've been around, what I grew up around, it's a constant reminder for me that I made it through it. You know, I made it past that. I lived. There were a
Hmm.
lot of times people tried to kill me and they couldn't, you know. And it always sounds weird to say that out loud too. I'm not gonna lie to you. But there were a lot of times where people tried to kill me and they couldn't do it. Right. And at the end of the day, I lived. And because of that, I'm able to have conversations like this. I'm able to, have a wife and a child that, I love dearly and they love me. And I'm able to live life. So
That's awesome, man.
it's, and that's the thing. And I don't know if I told you this idea or not, but I actually am planning on getting, and I don't know if I already said it or not, but I'm planning on getting every Irish folklore like
Hmm.
tattooed on me.
Yeah.
So every single one, all the way from the will o wisp, I already got the banshee, I got the Dullahan. I want to get the like Irish boogeyman on me as well. I want to get the Welsh talking tree. I want to get all of them tattooed on me.
That's cool, man.
So
Yeah.
I have every tattoo that I am gonna get already planned out. Like I know exactly where they're going and everything.
Yeah.
So like
That's cool.
on this hand, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be getting a small portrait of the Green Man right here. Which do you know who the Green Man is?
I'm not sure. I think I've heard of that, but
So the Green Man is a lot of people think that the Green Man was actually an Sasquatch like variant in Ireland.
hmm
Is that he is the protector of the forest, and he's very big, full of like plants and whatnot, right?
yes.
And I'm gonna be getting a small portrait here of him, and then I'm gonna be getting a larger portrait somewhere on my arm. Over on
That's
this,
awesome, man.
I'm gonna be getting it's the earliest known drawing of a leprechaun. I'm gonna get that right here. Um, gonna get a handful of other tattoos, like all over. But yeah,
That's cool, man.
so
Love that. Well, the mythology from Ireland and the legends there, man,
oh
are
yeah.
pretty. They're cool.
Well, and in my family, because I mean, I have family here that can speak full Gaelic,
Oh wow.
and our Irish roots run really, really deep.
Hmm.
Like now, I'll be careful with saying this. My grandfather used to do a lot of stuff for people over in the home country over here. If you catch my drift,
Yeah, yeah.
so like sending money over for efforts to make sure that Ireland was staying Ireland type deal.
Hmm.
And our Irish pride is very, very heavy, right? And I mean, down to the point where in my town, my uncle has run the St. Patrick's Day parade for the past like 30 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, like we are very, very big into Ireland. Like, so even like,
That's
I don't
cool.
know if you can see this. Can you see this tattoo?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what that is that is Ogham, which is an ancient Irish language. And it's written so where what it is it starts at the bottom and goes up, right?
Hmm.
So it's Roscommon, which is the county that my family hails from in Ireland.
Wow. That's cool, man.
So
Do you know when your family made the move over to the US? Do you know what period that happened in, or?
I don't know exactly when it was, but I do have a picture of the Wrigley family like a long, long time ago. Like I want to say it's like late or no, it's like early 1800s.
Yeah,
But
man.
it's and that's the thing is that my family's been here for a long time, and they're related to like the Rig, like because Wrigley's their Wrigley Field, Wrigley Gum, like all of that, like the Chicago
Yeah.
thing,
What was
like
that? Sorry, what was that last thing you just said? Sorry, man, it cut out for a second.
the Chicago Cubs.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's the field that they play at was originally owned by like distant family members of mine.
Wow, man.
So yeah,
You got a strong bloodline, brother.
yeah, yeah.
Are
I
you a
wish
Cubs fan now?
I have to be,
Yeah, 100%.
but I wish I had their money. But because they own like so Juicy Fruit,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's Wrigley Gum or
Wow.
Spearmint,
Yeah, man.
all Starburst, Skittles, all that shit's owned by Wrigley's.
Wow, and that's you, man.
Yeah, and that's my distant relatives. I'm pretty sure they sold it, but like it's
Hmm.
still like my distant relatives are the ones that started it.
Wow. I always think those people that got on the boats and got over to the US at
Well,
at the start must have been cool people.
so think about this, right? So I'll give you a quick little history lesson here on my family, which you'll never find in the books or anything because the Wrigley family, like in Chicago and everything, like the rich ones, they really like, you know, they, how do I put this? They really distance themselves from their past as well as like, you know, us. And the reason being is because, my family got into illegal activities whenever they came here, working with the Irish and whatnot, helping over there.
Hmm.
But one of the things that happened though was that there were two brothers in Ireland. They killed a British officer over there because this is during the times of the British occupation and whatnot. And at the time, the prisons were full. So they offered them like, okay, like either we're gonna extradite you or we're gonna kill you. Which one do you want to choose? They're like extradite us. So they came in to New York, right? And the island turned them away because somebody was sick on the boat. So they had to go from New York up to Canada and come down illegally through Canada, right? So they came down through there, and then there was a group that went kind of like more into Ohio area, right? And then there was the other group that went through Chicago, and then they split off from Chicago down to where we are in Illinois. And
Wow.
the ones in Chicago are the ones that started Wrigley Gum, Wrigley Field, and all that. And then the ones down here are us.
Yeah. Wow, man.
Yep.
You need to get back in with them, man.
I know. Shit, I wish.
Get back in with them.
I
That's
always,
so cool. I love that.
I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, Wrigley like the gum in the field, except without the money.
I love hearing the history of that, man. I think that's one of my, the like the birth of America that it is now. Like that is something that fascinates me. Like the story is incredible. Like and I love it, man. I love the American history.
Oh yeah, well, and that's one of the things that you know. How do I put this? I've always told people to get their genealogy because it's such a beautiful thing to be able to find, history like that.
Hmm.
To be able to
Yeah,
figure
man.
out yourself and everything,
Yeah.
and to be able to figure out because, like, I can't tell you how many people I've met. And I know you probably know the same amount of people where they don't know any of their history.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know, well, oh, well, yeah, my
And
grandma
they
did.
don't care. A lot of people don't care as well.
Yeah, no, and it's like I love. I'm very very prideful of my Irish roots,
Hmm.
and it's because of the fact that like I said, I grew up, you know, where my uncle was running the St. Patrick's Day parade. I grew up about hearing my grandfather doing things, and whatnot, and I like even my dad. Like my dad has met. Like, would you ever seen a Bronx Tale, that movie?
I don't think I have.
If you
No.
get the chance, watch that movie. It's a great film. But there's a scene where basically like this young kid, he ends up getting really like, close with the Italian mob and whatnot, right? And he's running errands for them and whatnot. And my dad used to like go pick up groceries for some of the Irish mobsters in my town.
Whoa.
And like I remember hearing a story where he would like he knocked at the door, and like, who are you? And one of them was like, oh, that's Wrigley's boy. Like, let him in. Come on, let him in. So
Whoa, man.
yeah,
That's
like
cool.
Grandpa, I wish I could have met my grandfather. Grandpa was really really cool. From what like I said, I'm hearing all of this from other people because my grandpa died in '96 as well, and it was either '96 or '98 whenever he died. But I remember hearing a story about basically this is back in the times where teachers could still hit kids and whatnot.
Yeah.
And there's a teacher that hit my uncle's hands with a dowel rod and bloodied him up, right? And my grandpa came there to pick up the kids, and he's smoking a cigarette, and one of them's like, you know, Kenny, are your hands okay? And he's like looking at his hands and everything. I think it's my uncle Kenny. I can't remember which uncle it was because my fun fact, my grandpa had 10 kids altogether. But yeah.
He's a busy boy.
Oh yeah. And he's looking at his hands. He's like, "What happened to your hands?" He said, "Well, such and such hit them today, with a dowel rod." And he's like, takes a couple more puffs of his cigarette, puts it out. He says, "Kids, I'll be right back." Goes inside, right? And he goes and he asks his teacher, he's like, "Did you hit my kid today with a dowel rod?" He's like, "Yes, I did, sir." And he said, "You mind if I see that dowel rod?" And he hands it over to him. He's like, "Oh, yeah, that's pretty nice." And starts beating the shit out of the teacher with it, right? And from what I heard, he pushed him underneath because this is back in like the 60s where you had like mahogany desks and shit. So he pushed him underneath the desk where your like legs go and just started like kicking and beating the shit out of him into there. And
Whoa.
just came back out after doing that. His hands were all bloodied up and whatnot. And by the time that they got home, Grandma was standing out on the front porch with the phone from the kitchen drug all the way to the front porch, talking to the principal. I mean, like, what did he do? And all that. So,
Fair
but
play, man.
well, and that's the thing is like that happened. I remember hearing a story about how like Grandpa is a badass, but like Grandpa really did some wild shit. Like I remember hearing a story about how, and now this one I know for sure was my uncle, and I don't want to say his name because he's actually running for city council right now in
Oh
our town.
wow.
But uh, so my uncle, he was a paper boy, right? Like a lot of the kids in that time, and he kept getting bullied by this one kid on this paper route. So my grandpa, what he did was he told him, he was like, "I have an idea for you." He said, "Here's what you're gonna take." And he hands him a fucking like newspaper. And my uncle's like, "Why is it so heavy?" And he unrolls it, and there's a lead pipe wrapped up in the newspaper. And he said, "From now on, what you're gonna do is if one of these kids sits there and they try to mess with you on your bike route, you're gonna hit them with this newspaper. And you're gonna beat the shit out of them with it." So sure enough, these kids try to mess with him, and my uncle just starts beating the shit out of the kids with the lead pipe or the newspaper. But you got to think too, like picture seeing it from an outward perspective. Somebody's getting their ass beat by a newspaper, but they don't realize there's a lead pipe pulled up in the
Yeah.
side inside of it. But
If you fold a newspaper anyway,
oh yeah,
they're quite strong.
yeah. So now picture having a lead pipe rolled up in a newspaper,
Oh man,
and
that is badass.
oh yeah, Grandpa was a wild, wild guy. You got to think too. So he trained my great uncle to be a two-time Golden Glove boxer, right?
Whoa.
And Grandpa was better at boxing than he was, but the only reason that Grandpa couldn't be a professional boxer is because whenever he was younger, he had an equilibrium problem where he had to have one of his nerves in his ears snipped. So because of that, the boxing commission wouldn't let him fight. But Grandpa could fight better than him. And I remember hearing stories about how Grandpa's a really bad binge drinker. I guess he would go into bars and like find people in there that had attitude problems and readjust their attitudes for him if he had a bad day at work. But
Whoa.
you got to think, I mean, my grandfather, he fought in Korea, right? And on top of that was a boxer. And on top of that, had 10 kids, worked two full-time jobs, and did shit for the Irish mob.
Yeah. Wow,
So
man.
grandpa had a lot of stress.
Yeah, man.
So,
He'd be a good guy to talk to on a podcast, that's for sure.
oh my goodness. I've heard so many stories. I remember hearing a story one time from my dad about how so get this, right? So fun fact, he had 10 kids. He was never supposed to have kids because what he did was he shattered his pelvis and it messed with a lot of, the ghibli bits down there. And
Whoa.
they're like, "You're never going to be able to have kids." And sure enough, what ended up happening, he had kids.
He showed them wrong, yeah.
Yeah, he showed really wrong.
10. Oh, man.
Yeah, and the reason that he broke his pelvis was because he fell out of a window, and it was over in Korea actually.
Man.
And that's not his first time falling out of a window either. There's a time where two of the cousins, because Irish family, so two of the cousins at I want to say it was a family, like I want to say it was a family reunion, and they're at this house, and it's actually here in town. They're at this house over here, and I want to say it was my cousin, it's cousin Matthew's house, I believe. They're over there, and there's two cousins that start beating the shit out of each other, right? Well, Grandpa stands up, and he's going to go break it up. They both turn around at the same time, and they punch him through the two-story window, and he falls out, right? And from what I heard, is it was like that scene in like Halloween where Dr. Loomis looks over and he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
He was coming up the stairs, getting ready to go fight the two cousins for knocking him out of the window.
Whoa, man.
Yeah,
What a dude.
yeah. Grandpa,
Oh,
and think about this too. Grandpa was like 5'8". Like he was not a
yeah.
big guy.
Yeah. Man. Don't mess with me, man. The smaller dudes are sometimes stronger.
Oh, well, they call him half cow because of the fact that he was one of the only people in the butcher shops that could carry a whole half of a cow on his shoulder
Wow.
and hang it up
Man.
with one arm.
Man. What a legend, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool,
So,
brother.
but and it wasn't him, and this actually ties into UFOs, matter of fact. But it wasn't him. It was his father-in-law. Okay, so my other great grandfather on my grandma's side, he and my uncle, who's actually running for the city council, and my dad, and I think one of my other uncles, were they were always over there, with my great grandfather, and they were, like they would watch him and whatnot, and they would go over there and stay the night and shit. Well, one morning, and they would always go out and they'd go get the newspaper with my grandfather. Well, one morning, they're sitting there, and my grandpa looks up, and all of a sudden, there's this like bright flash of light, and this disc comes out. I want to say it was like multiple different colors and everything, and it stops, and then it just zooms off. And
Whoa.
my great grandpa and like I said, I'm just barely remembering this just off of like talking about them. I'm gonna have to ask, and then next time we talk, I'll give you more info. But I'm pretty sure I remember him like hearing my uncle say something like Grandpa said something along the lines of, "Well, that was really interesting, boys," and then they just walked inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. Man. Do you know what year that might have been, roughly?
I want to say that would have been, shit. I mean, you got to think. Like I said, my dad's the oldest out of any of the brothers that would have been there, besides because Uncle Tim wouldn't have been there. And my dad's my dad was born in 1957, and they probably would have been like 10 or 12 whenever that was. So that would have been like 1967. Great year. Patterson Gimlin film came out that year, so great year.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, um, so probably like 1965 to 1967.
Man. Yeah. That's cool, brother. Man. I love learning histories of families and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Like that really is something that I find really cool. So thanks for sharing that, man. That's cool.
for sure. I really wish that I could have meeting like or met them
Yeah.
at some
Yeah.
point. But you
Yeah,
know,
man.
it's one of those things. I know I will someday once I
Mhm.
pass whatnot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll tell you what though, it's it's crazy whenever you think about the fact that Grandpa, you know, did all that shit. And then I'll tell you one thing that was really interesting is that my biological grandfather, who is still alive, right? You ever heard of the rock apes of Vietnam?
I don't think so. What's that?
So in Vietnam, there were a lot of American soldiers that had reported seeing these like upright walking large apes, right? And they called them rock apes because they would throw rocks at the soldiers and whatnot, right? And my grandpa was in Vietnam, like hardcore, like first one of the first people in Vietnam. Like my grandfather was an army engineer, So he was like one of the people that was in there first building bases and shit, right? And I remember I asked my grandpa one time about the rock apes, and he told me he's like, "What? Hey, another day in paradise, brother." Sorry, my neighbors walked by, but
That's cool, man.
um, he was like one of the first people in there that what they would do is they'd build the bases and whatnot. So like before anybody else was there, he was there, and he was an EOD guy, so he was in charge of explosives and all that. And I asked him about the rock apes one time. He got very, very like you know quiet and standoffish with me about it. And didn't go into too much detail. And I always wondered about that. And I have yet to ask him deeper about it. But it was one of those things where I'm like, huh, that's,
Yeah.
that's strange.
Did you get the sense that he knew a lot more and didn't really want to talk about it?
I got the sense that he might have seen something or heard something, but he didn't want to go into it really.
Man.
Because, like I said, like I remember, and my grandpa is very, very, like, I get a lot of like my energetic, like, speaking from my grandfather.
Hmm.
Oh, whenever like he went from like very, very like, oh yeah, hey bud, how you doing and all that to like, you know, I don't really remember a lot from that time. And
Man.
I don't really like to talk about that. And I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Interesting, man.
So, but
Well,
like I said,
these,
he was one of the first people over in Vietnam.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like before bases, like he was building the bases. So I mean, you think about the shit that would have been seen in those
Oh,
jungles,
man. Yeah.
you know,
100%.
the first go around.
Yeah.
So
100%, man. So are these things like Bigfoot like creatures?
yeah, very similar, very very similar. Like there's actually theories that now I heard this as a theory before, and I don't know if this is the case or not. But the Minnesota Iceman
Yes. Yep.
theory that was a rock ape, and that somebody had killed one over there, and they brought it back and they froze it.
Interesting.
So, but I don't know if I genuinely believe that. But like I always say, who knows? I don't know what's really going on. So
Yeah.
it could be the case. But that's the thing though, is it's like in regards to the rock apes, they're very, very similar to Sasquatch. They're more ape-like than they are man-like though.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting, man.
but there was a lot of reports of them. Like you, at some point, look that up if you get the chance. Look up
Yeah,
rock. There's a lot of stories on them out there.
man. Interesting stuff, brother.
Oh yeah.
Interesting stuff, brother. I've no idea what we're going to call this episode because we've gone
Over.
everywhere tonight. I think we're nearly at, I don't know what time we started, but I think we're nearly at, we're definitely over 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have to wrap it up, man. But honestly, love talking to you again, man. It's always a pleasure.
Oh for
I,
sure.
I can't wait till we're moving. We're moving to Maine together.
We're
We're going
doing
to
it.
set up a studio and we're going to hunt Bigfoot. And I can't wait, man.
We're doing it. We gotta get you guns, man.
Yes. Well, that's why I need to come over there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we gotta get you guns, man.
Can you tell the listeners where they can find you, brother?
Man, look, you can find me the Mysterious Outdoors podcast. I still have yet to release an episode because life is busy as hell.
Mhm.
But you know, I will say, and I know I talked to you about it before. Um, I'm in the works of getting some stuff going with a video production, and I'm trying to get everything figured out. But it's going to be probably the best depiction of what people in the field are doing as there could possibly be on film. And that's all I'm going to say, which
Oh,
is very vague. And I know, Tommy, you might remember the conversation that's a lot more in depth
I
of what,
do. I do remember.
but we got to keep it. We got to keep it low key. We got to
Yeah.
keep the people under
We can't
wraps.
say too much, but it's
No,
exciting. It's
yes,
very exciting.
very much so. So, but yeah, look forward to being able to show the world, the more reality of what goes on in the world.
Interesting, man. Brother, you're a legend, man. It's always good talking to you. Thank you so much. Let's do it again soon. We're not going to
Look,
leave it as long next time.
no, hell
And
no.
yeah, let's do it again soon, brother. I hope the leg gets better soon. And yeah, just thank you so much, man.
For sure. Thank you always for having me, brother. Truly, the pleasure is mine. I mean, like every time that, we get on, we talk for hours and it's a beautiful conversation. We cover all aspects of mysteries,
We
you
go
know,
everywhere. Yeah.
so that's the amazing part.
You're a legend, brother. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, share it where you can. That's a great way to support us. And we'll be back very soon for more freaky conversations. Aaron, keep it freaky, brother. Thank you very much, man. Thank you.
hey, love you, man. Talk to you
Love you
soon.
too, brother. Love you, man. Thank you.